you would always want to be on the side of having good credit.
Do you think it pays to have good credit? Well, Mr. Peter, I want to thank you so much for joining this episode with me, man. And I've been actually looking for people that is more in the business funding space. Me, obviously being in the credit repair industry, Peter, I get asked literally every single week about business funding. And I really don't know too many people that can help a lot of my clients. And I normally just tell them, hey, there's a lot of people out there. Just go check it out on Google and see what options are out there because I mainly just focus in the credit repair space. And I really haven't educated myself too much on the whole entire business funding industry. So hopefully after this episode, man, I can learn a lot from you, especially and maybe refer some of those people who are looking for business funding your way over to Burns Funding. So before we dive too deep into credit and funding and all the good stuff, I've actually just done a small, quick research on you, man, and it looks like you're very educated when it comes to businesses, right? I believe I read that you started over 100 businesses and you've been featured on Forbes and things like that. Tell me about that, man, because me as a business owner, that motivates me to be as strong as you are in the business space.
Well, I'll tell you, I started as a very young man. I
Yep.
did all sorts of entrepreneurial ventures as a young man. And then my first official business was a result of a business plan that I did as a freshman in college at 19. And that first business made so much money and spurred me on so much that that was the end of my military career, the end of my normal education career, and I've been 100% entrepreneur for the last 50 years, and
Mm,
I've done it all. and
wow.
and so I got into business funding because I simply hadn't any access to conventional funding as a young entrepreneur. Banks have never been our friends, Chris, and they never will be. So you
Yep.
have to look for alternate funding. So I got kind of good at it. And then people would come to me and they'd say, "Hey, how did you get your business funded?" And then I'd take them under my wing. And I brokered about $1 billion or $1.5 billion in unsecured business funding over the years.
Cool.
And and then about gosh, I'm going to say just a few years ago, I took all of my resources and I put it under the umbrella of Burns Funding. And then I entered into all of my contacts and you name it, and I put it all together. And I'm always improving the process to where it is right now. It's kind of an evolution of where I am right now. I'm able to help people improve their credit and then get into our funding process. I use right now business funding in the form of aged shelf corporations.
Mm,
And those receive all of the funding from a group of financiers that I work with that have been wonderful. And that's the highest threshold of credit you have to have. The minimum is 720 and higher. The better you go, the more you get. But you can get these age shelf corporations, which have been compliant for as many years as they've existed. They're literally taken off the shelf, and those are what we raise the money for. My brokers raise the money for that in different denominations of the shelf. The average has been about $500,000, which is, that's a lot of money. And
yes.
especially in this day and age. And I've sold 42 of them with an average of $500,000. And this is all in the last 4 or 5 months. But the real unique differentiator between how I do my funding and everybody else does is I thought to myself, gosh, if I've raised all this money for these people and they came to me because they needed money, am I really putting them in the trick box by letting them get more debt? Now they're going to have to worry how to pay that back up. And if they're entering into a new business, it may not have the cash flow to
Hmm.
support that new debt. So then I started thinking. I like to reverse engineer. If there's a problem, I reverse engineer it and then I figure out the solution for profit. That's what I've been doing my whole life. So in this particular case, I figured out that the hardest thing for people to take on new debt is to pay it off again. So I said, if I can overcome that quagmire, if I can solve that issue for these nascent entrepreneurs that are getting funded from me, then I'll have like basically a better mousetrap. So what I did is I created the Burns funding method. And what that is basically is after I have provided access to raise a bunch of money, and they have been able to pay whatever the costs of raising that money, because I don't participate in any commissional basis or anything. I am simply, oh gosh, what am I? I'm like a concierge, a loan concierge fella. I
Yeah.
facilitate it because I've got 50 years of context and history out there. So um, once they've taken out the expenses in that shelf, for instance, I then split 50-50 of the net that's in that shelf, and I use it to purchase passive assets in my own inventory that generate far more money than it takes to carry the debt, and it pays off the whole debt. I take literally half but pay back 100%, and then the people take their half off the top. They never have to pay it back because that's my responsibility. And now they get all of their money back again, because after I've repaid the whole 500,000, for instance, they get all those free and clear lines of credit and credit cards back again. And what I encourage people to do is, after I've shown my stuff and done it for them, rinse and repeat, do it again.
Yeah.
So they can have a never ending supply of funding, because you can get up to two shelves from my provider right now, and the shelves can go as high as 750,000 or even more a piece. So let's say you got two one $750,000 shelves through my process. They got $1.5 million. After we do all the math, pay all the bills, split the 50-50, they'll take off the top, oh gosh, let's see, about 600,000 in cash, never have to pay it back. I pay off the whole 1.5 million. Then they get that 1.5 million of free and clear credit again. It's a pretty neat thing. It's a lot of moving parts. It's all explained in depth on burnsfunding.com. But I love helping my fellow entrepreneurs. And really, if you're going to give me a superpower, it is raising money, because that's a full time job, Chris.
Yeah.
You can't run your business if you're always out looking for money to support your business or start your business or enhance your business. So
Yeah.
that's where I come in.
Absolutely. Well, Peter, I can definitely vouch for the part that you mentioned about starting your business because, man, before I jumped into the credit repair space, I've actually just worked a sales job at a local car dealership when I was in Louisiana. And man, I looked into starting the credit repair business. But to be honest with you, Peter, I just did not have the funds available to go through mentorship because I didn't know
Oh,
anything about this. Me starting a online business is not as easy as it sounds because you don't have people just walking into your front door, just, let's just say they're just walking down the street or driving down the street and they see
oh yeah.
Sturgis Credit Repair and they're like, hey, I need credit repair. Let me see if this place is legit. No, if you're starting a business online, you need marketing. You need to put your business or put your brand out in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And unfortunately, yeah, there's only so much you can do organically and asking family members and friends to share your online social media posts and things like that. But man, you need the funds to back that up and promote your business, run marketing campaigns and things like that. And, I told myself I wasn't going to do it because I just didn't have all of that money to, initially invest. So then I looked into my credit card options because I've always had good credit. I was never one to have bad credit. I've actually never missed payments on anything. So at the time, 3 months before I thought about starting the business, I actually had a $20,000 credit card that had an 18-month 0% intro bonus offer on top of 2 to 3% cash back, depending on which category you spend it on. And Peter, I took that and I said, you know what? I'm just going to take a risk. And to be honest with you, I actually did not even expect to pay it back. I'm like, yeah, I'm stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing this for the first time. I'm just going to go out. Everything in life is going to be a risk regardless. If it fails, oh well, I'll worry about that later. But man, boy, I invested in the business. I went all in on getting all the legal stuff that I needed, mentorship, learning how to do all of this stuff. And most importantly, all the ads on all the social media platforms. And I went from zero clients on day one to over 150 clients enrolled on a monthly basis. This was probably within the first 60 days. And man, within 2 months, which I was probably crazy for doing so, but I ended up quitting my day job and went full time into my credit repair industry. So, just having the funds to get me started, I can definitely vouch by having funding or having any sort of funding can be a big kickstart in your business. But one thing that I do get on a daily basis, Peter, is a lot of clients emailing me or they're calling me, and these are people with 500 credit scores, and they're like, "Hey, I want to sign up for credit repair because I want to start a business and I want to fix my credit because I want to get some sort of funding." Is it true that these people can get funding and they haven't even started the business yet? Because when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, look, let's focus on credit repair first. And then you need to eventually get your business started. I think you need 2-year tax returns. I don't think you're going to get no funding right now. So is that even a thing?
You can raise money with credit as low as 600. Really, I haven't seen it really successfully funded, and we're talking about unsecured funded.
Okay.
And you can get that through some of the people that are out there. You got to be so careful. Just like in your credit repair business, you have to be very
Yeah.
careful of who you pick, because a lot of people take your money and they don't do anything,
Mm-hmm.
and you won't know for months because there's always a cyclical change. It has to
Mm-hmm.
be recorded and all that good stuff. And a lot of people have been very disappointed because they thought they could get their credit cleared, and indeed they can't. They just spent a bunch of money
Yeah.
that didn't work at all. Now,
Yep.
in the funding business, it's the same thing. There are a lot of people that pretend that they have access to these lenders and all this good stuff, but they're few and far between. And then someone like me who takes 50 years of experience, I've funded billions of dollars, and I've developed my own unique methodology to do it. We're very rare. And I would almost say, in this day and age, almost non-existent. We're about the last man standing with my process, using shelves, using the Burns funding method, and being able to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars unsecured in and a company's name, so it doesn't affect your own personal credit. You're going
Mm.
to have the credit to be accepted into the program, because the shelf determines if they're going to let you buy a shelf or not. But I'm working with some really great professional people. It's working out super well. I'd love to talk to you, Chris, offline or on this call
Yeah.
or whatever. We can 100% help the people that are coming to you looking for funding all the time. We simply take them through a very simple process. They read my website, burnsfunding.com,
Yeah.
because people don't read. But you need to read. You need to look at it. You need to spend
Yeah.
more than 15 seconds and expect, manna from heaven. You're going to have to earn it. You have to understand, see if you're qualified. It's in our deal. You press a button, 15 seconds, all three of your credit reports are done.
Same here.
All AI and all AI response. Tell me what you are. With that in my hands and in the hands of the client, then they just book a call with me, and I can tell them what options that they have. No obligation, but
Hmm.
once they've read the how we do it, and it's not done anywhere else out there, we have a call together after they have got the pre-qualification. You know what? I've got $22 million in funding right now after only 5 months of introducing this path that I'm talking about in our business funding. And we can help a lot of people. Now, if you don't have the 720 or higher, It doesn't mean you're out of the game. I have a secondary group. So the first one I'm talking about with is like the A paper, and that's what we deal with, the shelves with the bigger amount of money that they get funded, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I have a B and C paper which allow you to get unsecured funding in your personal and business name, and I have another group that handles that for me. So I don't have to turn people away. And in the meantime, we have the conversation, and because I have so many years experience, I have so many contacts, odds are I've either been in the same line of business that you're in, or I know all the top people in it. I'm almost 70 years old, and I've been doing this actively for the last 50 years. And I'm talking, I handle 5 to 10 discovery calls a day, 6 days a week. I have multiple businesses of my own that operate simultaneously, but the bedrock, the underlying support of everything is my financial business. If you can access money, you can do amazing things. And I also tell people, look, your credit may have to be repaired and get up to fighting weight, but what about your wife? What about your children? What about your friends and family? I can bring them all in. One of my clients brought in 6 members of his family to buy two shelves each for 500,000 each. He's working on $6 million worth of funding because
Dang.
he met me or heard about me or whatever. We had the talk, and I set him up on the process through our shelf funding. Now, several of his family members are going through credit repair. That's a necessary thing that you have to do to get up to bat. Someone in your world has to have the adequate credit that could access a funding process like mine that could pay for all the credit repair for their other family members. You could do it in mass. Listen, if you don't take the bull by the horns and try it, you're never going to know if you can. And I'll bet you, Chris, you haven't had too many regrets leaving your wage to work in your own business.
No.
You not only can you make way more money doing your own business, but you make all the decisions. It's actually freedom that you're acquiring as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And it's fun to be with other entrepreneurs. Heck, all those big companies where people hope to get a job and last forever and get a pension, that doesn't exist anymore anyway.
Right.
But there was an entrepreneur like you and me that set that big business up in the first place. They didn't just pop out of the womb fully developed.
Yeah.
But the lifeblood is you got to have money. And if you can't get it out the bat because you've damaged your credit, need to repair it, you need to have your services. So you fix their credit, you run them through our process. And because I have the unique Burns funding method, I'll not only give you the money you need, I'll pay it back for you. And it's really an interesting time out there right now as an entrepreneur.
Right. Yep. And what about people who are, I guess, new to starting a business? Let's say if we have someone who's, been saving up all their life, but they don't want to dive deep into their savings account to start a new business. Let's say if somebody want to go start a bakery or some cookie shop or, some service like that, and they need to pay rent, they need to hopefully buy their first employee or pay for their first employee. Is there any funding options for people who have never had funding in the past, clearly, because this is their first time starting a business, but someone with no business background and they're looking to start a business, is there even options for people like that?
100%. And
Oh, wow.
again, I said, it- you can't like do it all yourself. You can't expect to jump out fully formed.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to step before you run and all that
Yep.
good stuff. But just like you did, you have to take the first step. And if you don't ever try, you'll never know. You took a $20,000 credit card and parlayed that into your livelihood. How many years have you been doing this, Chris?
7 total.
And how many clients have you helped so far in 7 years?
Oh,
A
it's
thousand?
it's over that. Maybe 3 to 4 thousand
Okay,
total.
how incredible is that you changed their
Yeah.
lives by providing your service? Because without your service, they couldn't access me. But
Yeah.
when you put the two together, it's really powerful.
Hmm.
And I love helping people. So it doesn't matter if you've never done it before. Hell, you've existed, you've held a job or done something else, you've supported a family, paid a mortgage, you got the credit. Now use the credit, because if you have good credit and you don't do anything with it, what's the use of it? What's the purpose of it?
Hmm.
You need
Yep.
to use it as a tool. You took a $20,000 credit card, and now you successfully founded a business that not only helped 3,000 people, but you're making a living. You live
Yeah.
in beautiful Phoenix, and life is good.
Hmm.
Well, that's what I love to do. I can tell you
Yeah.
what I did this past weekend. So,
Okay.
every year, I live in a very beautiful area. I live in La Jolla, California. It's
Okay.
gorgeous here. And
Yeah.
every year I bring together about a dozen of the people that I work with in various niches, who may or may not have ever met, but certainly only generally only communicated with email and phone calls with the others that are part
Hmm.
of my little circle. Well, I pick 10 or 12. I bring them all to La Jolla for a long weekend. I rent a big mansion. They stay there. I get a chef. I have a professional photographer, and you get to meet people on one-on-one. People don't do that anymore,
Yeah.
Chris. They're
Yeah.
they're so tech enabled that they don't even get to actually shake your hand, look in your eye, and talk business and talk life in general. So it creates camaraderie. It creates a community within my community. And I like to do that every year, but I'm going to accelerate that. We had such a great time this past weekend, even though 7 people couldn't come because they got iced in and snowed in back on the East Coast.
Yep.
But I had the other half come, and then I have local contacts here, and we had made a time of it. We ate like kings with this great chef, and we enjoyed this beautiful, beautiful mansion overlooking all of La Jolla. That's what it should be. You should work hard and play hard. You should mix business with pleasure. You should live your life instead of, what do they say? You want to earn to live instead of live to earn. You need to enjoy yourself, and you need to like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the people that never have done anything before, there's a lot of opportunities. For instance, I have 5 separate passive income generators that I use for my Burns funding method to repay the half that I take after net that I facilitated them to receive in the first place. So I've got 5 little things. They make between 10 and 15% a month steady, which is far in excess of most investments. If you can even get anything to make a profit at all, you don't get ripped off and it blows up. You find ones that work, you stick with them, you develop, and I use them as tools for my funding business. So, what I'm doing is I'm offering people to co-invest with me, meaning I already have the assets. I'll let them come in for half the action. If they put up the money that I'm loaning them anyway, they can make their half of 10% a month or 15% a month. So it's a very nice step by step process that I offer. This is for the new entrepreneur. They can do baby steps
Yeah.
and learn by doing, earn money while you're learning by doing. So there's every imaginable way to make it as an entrepreneur. I lived in Ethiopia for 6 months as a entrepreneur and resident for the International Medical Corps over there. This was in 2013. And
Hmm.
I went over there and I heard about a fella that had the most unusual business I'd ever heard of. He was called the Hyena Man. Now, what he did, his father started the business. He was feeding a pack of wild hyenas out in the jungle where he lived, and he would feed them every night. Well, it turns out people heard about this very unusual situation, and
Yeah.
he created a business to take a picture of the damn fools like me who got out in his blue blazer with a piece of meat on the end of a stick. The guy made a living, sent his kids to school, built a house,
Wow.
and And when I went to do it, it was the second generation. It was the son that took over from the father doing the same thing. He would get the word out, and then people would come like me and pay to have a picture taken of me feeding a bunch of wild hyenas with meat on a stick. Not the safest thing in the world, but it certainly shows you how unique people can think of ideas how to operate. And like you said in my preface, started 100. I probably started 200 actually, if you want to add it. I say 150 because I can't even think. It's been 50 years. I start businesses like most people change their shoes because 80% of all businesses are the same. It's the 20% that's a unique differentiator that makes a cafe different than an engineering firm. So, but they're all basically the same. It's common sense, step by step building blocks of the business. But guess what fuels it all, Chris?
What's that?
Money. You have to
Yeah.
have active. If you can't get money, you can't be in business,
Oh,
period.
for sure. Absolutely. Let me ask you this, Peter. What would you say is the perfect business to apply for funding as far as the amount of years in business, how much revenue they have? Maybe it's based on employees. What would someone look like that goes to burnsfunding.com, which I know you can help several different businesses, but what would that business look like when they apply? You look over their documents or you look over their application and you go, yes, this is a straight shot. What would that business look like?
I like the e-commerce stores,
Okay.
and you kiss a lot of pigs out there too. I had an absolute crook as an operator, and I had invested a lot of money in a number of Amazon stores, Spotify stores, and all that good stuff. And they just were terrible operators.
Hmm.
And so I ended up losing a lot of money. Now I write 3 posts a week on LinkedIn, and I have about 100,000 viewers that view my posts. And I was approached by a young woman who had been in the e-commerce business for 9 years, and she reached out to me and said, I'd like you to consider our program for the people that you're raising money for. And I said, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. I got burned so badly as an Amazon store owner that I didn't want to repeat that one. That cost me a lot of money. But she said, no, we do it right. She said, I was 19 years old. I started I was a model, and I took my modeling and I turned it into my own Amazon store, and it worked out really, really well. So much that skipped the modeling, left school, and decided to pursue having multiple Amazon stores. Now, you couldn't have more than one in your name, but she could help other people get in. She put them in, and then they did a rev share. Well, she had 150 stores, and the girl was only 31 years old and making millions
Dang.
of dollars. And she happened to be very beautiful, which of course caught my eye. And
Yeah.
so we started communicating. And then we did our due diligence. We tore it apart. I knew all the things that didn't work with the crooked operator. Maybe they were just incompetent, but whatever it was, it cost me 1.6 million. So I said, I don't want to repeat that again. So we're going to turn it upside down. Well, you know what, Chris? I'm her partner now. And I
Oh, wow.
use I use Amazon stores as one of the main support mechanisms
Mhm.
for my Burns funding method. So if you had a newbie out there that thought they wanted to get into business, I will loan them the money if they qualify, or I will provide access to the money if they qualify through my process. I will pay it all back, and they can get into an Amazon store because I will just pave the way for them to meet my partner, and they will go through the process of being put into business. Now, it's a completely passive income. They do all the work, and then you get 60% of the net profits, they get 40, but your 60% of profits may well hit the average what they're doing, which is $10,000 a month in profits for
Mm.
them after only a couple or 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Now, And now I will also offer to be your partner in that. I have a preferential pricing. So I'll loan you the money to get into the property 50-50 with me. And no, you won't make the full 10, but you didn't invest it all either, but you'll make
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
And that's purely passive. So, and then you have a brother or sister or a wife that can get into it as long as you can separate different LLCs, different individuals, and you meet the requirements of Amazon, you can be in business, but build it slowly. Heck, you could mimic everything that I'm doing. I have an exotic car rental business. I
Oh,
buy a
wow.
car, I buy a car that I put on the streets, nice convertibles. I had all my cars also available for all my guests. They had the Maserati and the Audis and all this good stuff that
Mm-hmm.
they could use willy-nilly while they're with me. Well, I have now developed a car rental business in conjunction with someone who I partner up and he's the operator, and I have 19 cars.
Oh,
And
wow.
each car nets me about $2,000 a month because the cars are
Dang.
free and clear. I simply can sell them if I ever
Yeah.
want to use to pay.
Absolutely.
And then I started an Airbnb arbitrage business. Have you ever heard of one of those before?
Sounds familiar, but I haven't dived too deep into it.
Well, we're just about to launch our first ones, and I'm going to use it as a pure passive return of investment for all the people that come to me to borrow money. What an Airbnb arbitrage business is someone who has a home that's perfect for Airbnb, they don't want to hassle with it. So, in exchange for just renting it from them, usually longer term rent, 1 year, 5 years, all that good stuff, they'll give you written permission to run it as an Airbnb, which then you just keep the delta between what it costs you to operate that and what you make selling an Airbnb. Very profitable, Chris.
Wow.
Very scalable.
Yeah.
And if you find an operator, and that's what you need to have. I happen to have an operator that works with us who's very smart and very talented. So if they operate for you, you can make up to 30% a month are our estimates of what this is going to be. So
Dang.
you're only limited by your imagination, and then you have to test and retest, and you get a formula that works. But always have backups, Chris. I've got the e-commerce stores. I've got the Airbnb arbitrage. I got the exotic cars. I also have a couple of other ones. I have a very significant interest in a startup crypto, but I
Hmm.
know the principles. And one of the fellows that is running it, or I should say, has invested heavily in and brought me in, is a medical doctor who
Oh, wow.
happens who happens to also own 42 rental properties. He's preparing himself not to be able to keep the pass as an emergency room doctor. Maybe he can't keep the pace after he gets a certain age. So he prepared himself and he would use his credit cards. He's got 200,000 worth of credit cards. That's how he bought all these little rental properties, and you
Mm.
get 10 roofs that all need to get fixed. Well, guess what? You get your credit cards and you go do it. So
Yeah.
his ratios are askew in order to get money, but he pays his bills. He makes $1 million a year as a doctor. He got into
Mm.
Bitcoin. He's got 10 million bucks of Bitcoin, but he got into this new type of coin and it's Texas based and it's phenomenal. And he kept telling me, Peter, you got to get it. I said, I'm not into crypto. I don't know enough about it. And I've seen everybody get burned because they don't know enough about it and they have no control. And he said, well, because you introduced me to someone years ago, I got offered this opportunity because this other fella is friends with the one who founded this. So I took a flower, I put some money in it, son of a bitch worked. And then here's the case of really making it work. Can I get my money out of it? And I did in three
Oh,
hours.
wow.
In 3 hours, I'm making 1/2 point per day on the money I pour into this crypto, and
Hmm.
it pays every day. Then because I made a deal with him, I said, look, I'll be your biggest investor if you manage it for me because I don't have time.
Right.
So he does 10% of the net. He'll go manage everything for me. And I think I have something like 17 positions in this new crypto. I have 10 grandchildren, Chris. I haven't been married for 30 years. My former wife and I she lives in the Phoenix area. One of my daughters has 4 children there. My other daughter
Okay.
lives up in San Francisco. She has 6.
Yep.
So I have positions for all of my grandchildren, 10, plus their parents, plus a whole bunch anyway. I have like almost 20 positions. And that should make me a whole bunch of money. And I'm going to be continuing to cover the bets on all the money that I'm committed to repay by trying all of the different types that I have and blending this. Just that's really what my job is. Make sure all the payments are made, liquidate all of it, get the assets free and clear, and build my portfolio. Because my what do you call it, personal financial advisor told me that my goal of educating all 10 of my grandchildren was going to cost me $20 million before taxes. So it's 10 million to educate 10 kids. We're projecting they're young. They're 1 to 9 right now. There's 2 sets of twins.
Yep.
So that's my last hurrah. Make a whole bunch of money, educate all of my progeny. How does it get better than that?
Right, you're right. Yeah. One thing I am curious about, Peter. I'm all new to business funding. As far as people that are applying on burnsfunding.com, let's say someone's an established business owner, they're making great revenue, they've been in business for 15 years, but they just decided that funding could help leverage or scale their business even more. They can buy more inventory or, things to sell. How much are people getting in business funding? Is it revenue based? Is it based on their credit? Is it based on their taxable income? How does that whole entire process work?
Well, if you meet the credit standards, which is
Okay.
something that you come into,
Hmm.
and you just do the pre-approval that gives me all 3 of your reports in 15 seconds, and you get them too. And I pay for that. You pay nothing.
Okay.
If you do that, we can analyze it. Oh gosh, your credit reports and your AI credit analysis, I simply hand that off to my main funder, and they come back with exactly what they're good for and what they have the option to do.
Hmm.
The great part about our shelf funding, it's much larger amounts of money unsecured than you ever could do on your own. You might be able to get one credit card for your current company, and you might get a 20,000 or even a 50,000 done. But we'll give you 10 of them in each one of the shelves from 10 different banks. We have 91 banks and credit unions that issue business credit cards to the shelves that are sold to my clients. So you have a lot more options with us. Now, if you don't hit that 720, 650, 680, whatever, if it's not bad, I hand you off to my secondary B and C paper fella, and he comes up with a combination of personal and business, and you decide which ones you want to take. But here's the best part. If you're part of the Burns funding method, which I actually ask you to become before I give you all my resources,
Yeah.
if you sign my contract, I'm obligated to pay 100% of all the money you get from my people. You follow the formula. Every time you get a credit card, you cash convert it. We have someone that does cash conversions for all the credit cards. Then you pay the commission to whichever one of my funders funded you, and then you pay the cash conversion fee. The net is about 80% of whatever you've been loaned in the first place. We split it. I pay all the bills. You take your half off the top, use it for whatever you want, and I pay everything off. And then you have the use of 100% of it again. So it's a
Right.
really neat program. And as far as I can see, no one in the country has got anything like it. And I've done it 42 times in the last 5 months for $22 million. And I don't even advertise. So
Mhm.
I'm always about working reciprocally with fellow entrepreneurs. So you're giving me the privilege of being on your pod show today.
Hmm.
I welcome the opportunity to work with you hand in hand. You have 3,000 clients. How many of them need money? I'll take them
Oh,
all.
yeah. Yeah, a good bit of them for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of consumers. I want to say it's like an 80-20 split between our clients who are enrolled for buying a home or they're small business owners. So, yeah, I think that's a good ratio. Yeah, 80% of my clients are people who are looking to buy a home. The other 20% are people that are trying to fix their credit. They either have a trucking business or they have some other business, and they just need better credit and they just need to apply for things or whatever the case is. So we have a lot of people who can use funding. So that's one thing, that's for sure. One more question I have, or maybe I have two more, but one more that I want to speak on. Um, and again, I'm all new to business funding, like I said before, but just from listening to you over the last 40 minutes here, like I mentioned at first, I knew I was going to learn something in this episode, but it sounds like there's multiple different funding options in case one turns someone down. It seems like there's other options to go. Am I understanding that correctly? I think
100%.
I've heard like some are like credit card funding and some are more like business loan funded. Because when I think of business funding, or at least when I thought of business funding, I thought that you just apply for it as a business owner and it's a bank loan and you either get approved or you don't get approved, but it's just a normal bank loan that you pay back monthly or weekly or however way it goes. But it sounds like there's multiple different options. Can you kind of
100%,
go over
Chris.
that a little bit?
Yeah, there's the business term loans that
Okay.
are loan, and that's a steady monthly payment for say 60 months.
Mm.
And there are business lines of credit, which effectively the same, but you draw it as you need it. You get a credit line of 100,000. You pay it. You take as much as you want. You keep paying it back and forth. The business
Oh.
credit cards really it mirrors what you did 7 years ago. You got a
Hmm.
credit card for 20 grand. Now, was it to you personally, or was
Yeah,
it okay?
me personally. Yep.
Okay. Well, let me just tell you something. There's $1.3 trillion worth of credit card debt outstanding
Yeah.
to Americans right now. That's a whole bunch of money. And
Yeah.
see, it's unsecured. And see, you can't walk into a bank and get a business loan.
Right.
Eh, You just can't do it. I was in a private banker's office a few months ago, and he pulled me in and he said, Peter, I want to show you a memo I got from the head office. And the memo was to all the branch managers of this one it's the largest commercial bank in the world, actually. Um, and they were directing their managers to no longer make business loans available to clients and to
Hmm.
discourage people just to make it impossible to get it because they're charters issued by our federal government. They have to offer loans, but they had no intention of fulfilling them. And they do it because they don't want the hassle and they make so much money on overdraft fees and credit cards and you name it. They've
Yeah.
completely forgotten why they went into business in the first place.
Yep.
And like I said, they've never been friendly with us. They're even less so now in these tight days of credit being lost and who knows what's going on. So when you can get something like the path that I have forged and created on the step by step, jump on it. Because I always say this, Chris, and I'll say it to all of your listeners,
Yeah.
always take the money. And I say that because you never know when you're going to have access to that again. So when you do have it, take it. Because if you don't, you may not get a do over at all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And last thing I have for you, Peter, and this is one that actually touches me as well. So, by me being in the credit repair industry, of course, there's bad people in every industry out there. There's bad
100%.
people in the roofing business. There's bad people in the tire mounting, services and things like that. So when it comes to credit repair, people are skeptical who they trust to work on their credit, like we talked about at the beginning of this episode. And, a lot of these knuckleheads who are in the credit repair industry, which I have a lot of content that's out here showing people how to avoid people like that. But also, there's a lot of people who are advertising they can fix someone's credit in 3 days and 7 days, and just, a ton of garbage that's out there on the internet. And sadly, people fall for it. People get scammed, and then stories go out, and everyone's scared of everyone in the credit repair industry.
100%.
So what I'm getting at, that's how I'm affected. No matter how much marketing I spend to make me look like a reasonable source to trust to work on your credit, people are still going to look at me as a stranger, which they should, but also be nervous and skeptical about signing up for Sturgis Credit Repair. And I don't know if there was maybe a shift with credit repair and business funding, but it seems like nowadays it's almost going hand in hand with how the two are related. And a lot of these people online these days who are advertising themselves as so-called business funding people, but they're telling people, oh, no documents required. You don't have a business, just create an LLC. And the next day I can get you $100,000 in business funding. And, you hear all of this garbage. And then there's people saying that you can get 0% funding and you can get $250,000, no interest on it and things like that. What is your viewpoint or opinion on some of those misleading people? And secondly, is there even such thing as a 0% funding option out there?
There is. There actually
Oh,
is. A
wow.
lot of introductory business credit cards are 0% for 18 months.
Yep.
And but you got to have great credit to be able to
Yeah.
get that. Okay,
Yep.
that's the one indicator. And you want to answer your question, you need to do your due diligence when you're talking to someone. Ask for references. If they won't give you people that have successfully gone through your services and know them who you are, stay away from them. Like Chris, you're set. You got 3,000 clients. You seem like a very nice guy.
Yeah.
You are definitely a professional. You've got a great attitude and you've had a 7-year history. You simply look to those people who will write you a testimonial and be willing to answer any questions of people that are interested in what you're doing. Take a handful of them. Take 20 of them. That means you have 20 more people than any of these ne'er-do-well so-called credit funders,
Yep.
credit repair. They don't have anything. They'll never show it. Transparency is a must. Now, see, with me, it's very transparent. Google me, Chris. You probably did. Peter J.
Yep.
Burns III. Guess what? It's all out there. I've been working for 50 years. Go
Mm.
to the websites, look at them. There are testimonials on there. Reach out to them. They all have LinkedIn profiles and whatnot. I'm proud of what I do, and not everything works, but most does. And
Yeah.
if you win one more time than you lose, guess what? You win.
That's a win.
And it's numbers and numbers, and it's a numbers game. I need a steady flow of people to come to me for my process, because on our shelf funding it does take a while. It's 45 to 60 days, but you end up with a 500,000 or 1 million for real in an entity that is the debtor. It doesn't reflect on your personal credit. You have
Yep.
to have the credit to be able to buy it in the first place. That's where you come in. You fix their credit, you clean them up, and you do it in the appropriate manner, because I'm sure there's a lot of people in your business that take side cuts and it's a temporary fix and everything blows up and it's
Yep.
even worse than it was when they got in the first place.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
credit is so essential. It's a key ingredient for my business. It is your business. And I've kissed a lot of pigs in your business that supposedly could perform. No, they couldn't. And when I find ones that can, I keep them, but I also have redundancy. Things
Yep.
happen all the time, And if, as far as funding concerned, I got 91 banks I work with and credit unions
Dang.
on ours. And we're, I've been doing this a long time, and I have some real professionals out there. The one who handles my shelf funding has been in business funding for 25 years. She was a
Oh,
banker at
wow.
Capital One. So she makes a ton of money. out of the $22 million that I have sent to her, that's getting funded with the 42 people that are going through the process, she's going to end up herself making over $1 million in commission,
Dang.
and her team gets a bunch more than that. So they feed each other. But once you get that circle, that ecosystem, the financing ecosystem, you have all the pieces covered,
Yep.
you got it made. Chris, I got something I'm going to throw out to you because
Okay.
you're very easy to talk to. I'd like to put you through my own system. I'd like you to do it. And
Okay.
I'll even front you the money to pay for the shelves. See, we have the capacity to bridge people that are qualified. We'll actually loan you the money to buy the shelves and to pay down your ratios. And that's a bridge loan that we offer for people that are qualified for our shelves. Think you could use 500,000 or $1 million and have me pay it back? Who
Yeah.
who wouldn't? And
Right.
if you do go through this yourself, well, not only will you have a bunch of money and prove it yourself that it works, but you can honestly look everyone in the eye that comes to you for credit repair and say, this is what you could have happened for you if you follow your steps and you get your credit up to where it is. You bring your wife in. Like I said, I have one customer brought in 6 family members to
Yep.
go through this, and he's going to end up with millions of dollars. And many of them needed credit repair, and they're going through the process now. The two fit very well together. And like I said, if you like what I do, because it fits like a glove with what you do,
Hmm.
and you bring these people that come through the process to me, you get 2 points of the top. And let's say you had $22 million worth of funding that people brought me these deals. You'd make, how much is that? You'd make on 2% of that, you'd make
Yeah.
$440,000
Oh,
for doing
wow.
nothing more than to helping people get money.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean that definitely sounds great, Peter. And man, you've definitely educated me on some topics that I guess I wasn't aware of in the business funding space. And some of the things we talked about, I sort of had an idea, but I wasn't 100%, um, you know, I guess educated on a lot of those topics,
Sure.
like
But you know
all
your
the,
business, you know your
yeah,
business.
yeah,
But your business is an integral part of my business.
yep,
So your customers that successfully get those scores up again and get rid of the
hmm,
derogatories are perfect candidates for me, because why are they getting their credit good if it's not to purchase an asset? Which, by the way, I'm going to say one last story.
okay,
I had someone come with perfect credit who bought 2 shelf corporations. At the time, I think we had two 1.3 million shelves, or 2.6 million. And he was going to receive his 40% up front after you paid all the bills, something like a million two
mm,
in free and clear cash. And as part of the way I meet these people, I have these discovery calls, I videotape them. I said, "What are you going to use the money you're getting from me, by the way?" And he
right,
said, "That's money I don't have to pay a mortgage on, because I just bought a house and I can do it for cash with your money."
yeah, wow,
I mean, think how clever that is. He
yeah,
he figured out how to leverage me with my situation, and he
right.
just bought himself a house free and clear.
Yeah, I mean, you don't hear that every day.
No, no, but you're only limited by your imagination, and
Right.
you're only restricted by your guts.
Yep.
No guts, no glory.
That's
Got to
it.
take a shot. You definitely lose if you don't take a shot.
For
But you
sure.
have you have odds in your favor if you surround yourself with good people and you get away from the bad actors. Get the
Hmm.
references from people. Talk to people that they've done business to. Google them, for God's sakes, before
Yeah.
you ever do anything with them.
All
Check
right.
them out. Get on their LinkedIn. You got to know who your providers are.
Absolutely. For sure. Well, Peter, this has been a great conversation, a great episode. I'm sure a lot of my audience out there is going to tune into this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we do have this on the YouTube platform as well for people that like to watch things versus, being a listener. So, we have a lot of people who are enrolled in our credit repair service, but also people that just want to educate themselves on credit in general. We have all of those people that tune in to episodes like this all the time. And man, I don't have too many episodes or content at all about business funding. So this episode is really going to be a big change for me and my platform. And, something that a lot of our listeners are going to look forward to. So I thank you so much for wanting to schedule this. I do have one last question. How in the world did y'all even find this platform, the It Pays to Have Good Credit show? Did you just find it on Spotify or you're listening one
No,
day?
I have a fella, one of my inner circle named
Yeah.
Holt Hackney. Holt and I've known each other for 20 years. He's been involved in publicizing many of my businesses, and he's the reason that I have a Forbes column every month.
Okay.
He's a business journalist, he's a writer, he's a PR specialist. He decided that a good thing for me to do, get the word out what I do, is to find relevant podcasts. Well,
Hmm.
you can't get more relevant than you. You fix their credit, I give them the money, they go into business. That's
Yeah.
a pretty powerful combination. And Chris, I'm
Yeah.
going to reiterate, reach out to me off the cast, get
Okay.
onto my email,
Okay.
communicate with me, and take me up on my offer.
Okay.
Always take the money.
There
And
you go.
if I have it, get it.
Yep. Yep. Well, that sounds great. Well, Peter, you have a good one. This was a great episode, and we will be in touch. Okay. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. If you wish to be a guest on our podcast, visit StirgusCreditRepair.com and click the podcast page to schedule an episode. If you need help with your credit, you can also sign up at StirgusCreditRepair.com and start your free trial today.
Stirgus Credit Repair. Stirgus Credit Repair. If you want a new house, call us. If you need a new